Well, the Victorian Liberal Party is hoping to cling on to the seat of Warrandyte when voters head to the polls today. It's facing a big test, though, from the Greens Party, with Labor not running a candidate. Joining me now live is Tomas Lightbody, the candidate for the Greens in the seat of Warrandyte. Thomas, great to have your time. So just coming up to 40 minutes until polls close, do you think you've done enough to try and either snatch this by-election off the Liberals or at least get a fair bit of vote?
Yeah, I think coming out of polling day, it's been really excellent. We've been chatting with voters. I think in the lead up to this election, we've been out on the door knocking and speaking to voters every day. And I think as a campaign, we've done really well to engage people and chat about the issues that they think are important in this election. So I'm looking forward to seeing the results.
Realistically, what are you hoping to achieve tonight?
I think it's hard to predict what we're going to achieve tonight, but I think what we can say is that we've been out there, we've been talking to people, we've been talking about climate change. Lots of people have been watching on the news recently bushfires across the world, and I think that's really on people's mind when they're coming in to vote this today. So I'm really looking forward to a good increase in our vote.
Yeah, you mentioned the bushfire risk. The urban sprawl obviously is a big issue. Warrandyte being right on the fringe of the city, on the area which was so heavily affected by the Black Saturday bushfires. Is there a concern in that area that not enough's being done in terms of bushfire preparedness?
Yeah, I think it's on everyone's mind. We're coming into what could be one of the driest summers that we've seen in recent years. And I think everybody's really thinking about what that risk is and have we done enough to mitigate that. And I think a big part of it is making sure that we are properly funding our CFA and our SES and our emergency teams so that when summer does come around, we're ready.
And let's have a look at some of the other issues. So bushfire preparedness being one of them. What about housing? Because the Greens have obviously been running quite hard on the issue of housing. Would you be hopeful that when the Premier unveils his housing statement soon, that it may involve some more infrastructure in your area?
Yeah, I think it's a big concern. Even when we're out door knocking, a lot of people were talking about how they're worried what's going to happen when their kids need to move out. Are they going to be able to afford to move out? Where are they going to move to? Are they going to be able to stay locally in their community, or are they going to have to move quite far away? And I think, you know, as our community ages, I think being close to your family is really important. So I'm hopeful that there'll be something in the upcoming announcements that will help people, you know, move into housing out here. But we'll have to wait and see.
And the candidates, there are 12 of them. If you look at the ballot paper draw, Nicole Werner is second on the ballot, and you are right down the end, almost in 11th position. How do you feel about, you know, voters' education, and, you know, do you think there's just too many candidates in this field?
Yeah, well, I think there's definitely a lot of candidates running, and I think that sort of shows that there's lots of people that want to take this election seriously and want to get involved in democracy, and I think that's really good. In terms of ballot position, I think Australians are very used to voting and how voting works, so I hope that wouldn't be an issue.
And what about voter fatigue? Is that an issue at all out there, given that there's been 2 polls last year, the federal, the state one? Ryan Smith obviously was re-elected in the state one, and now we have a by-election. And then those voters in Warrandyte will now have to go back to the polls in October for the referendum. Have anyone been bringing that one up?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were actually quite surprised at this election, myself included. And I think a lot of people are still almost finding out about it today as they get the text from the VEC reminding them to come vote. So I think a lot of people are very surprised that they're coming back to the polls for a state by-election so quickly. And they're just wondering why they have to, you know, keep coming back.
Has the VEC been sending texts today? Because during the week we heard from the VEC and they said that ultimately they'd been only doing newspaper ads as marketing for this election. Have they tried to ramp it up today?
Yeah, well, I'm not too sure about their strategy, but I definitely got a text this morning reminding me to vote. But luckily I have already voted in early voting.
No doubt. I think there's no second guesses for who you may have put at number one on top of the ballot. I did afford this opportunity to the Liberal candidate last hour. It's just coming up to 35 minutes until the polls close. Thomas, what's your final pitch to voters?
My final pitch would be, I guess this election is really a contest between choosing another Liberal backbench MP who probably wouldn't have much say in her party, let alone the Parliament, or a new, fresh, progressive Greens voice to Parliament whose party did double their representation at the last election and currently hold balance of power in the upper house.
All right, Tomas Lightbody, thanks so much for joining us. We'll let you get back to securing those crucial last votes. Thanks so much.